Good evening, good morning to all whoever, however you're seeing this. I'm Jay Marie, host of That Part Podcast, and today we're doing a interview with one of our filmmakers out of the DMV area, but he's also now in California. We're going to introduce Mr. Abdul T. Sesay to the show. Give me just a second to get him up here. Go ahead, Abdul. You're on the screen now.
Hey, how you doing, Jay Marie? How you doing? Thank you for having me.
No problem, no problem. So let's get right into the questions. And I think we want to just kind of start with your origins, where you started with filmmaking and how that, transpired for you.
Okay, so I started off as just a writer as a young man, probably like 14 years old, writing. So it really was a thing where I was a rapper, and I used to write different stories and different concepts, and that's where I got into writing. And so, like in my 12th grade year in high school, my English teacher she had given out us an essay, and at that time I was like a class clown, and so
Okay.
she was expecting, yeah, well,
Something out the
she gave out an
something out the
essay, yeah,
wall.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So basically, what I did was I when we did the essay, it was like 6 page essay or whatever. So I wrote the story, and the teacher, at that point in time, she did not rock with me at all. But then after we had the essay and everything, and I turned it in uh like a week later after she graded everything. She was just talking about how amazing it was and how shocked she was, and that she wanted to enter it in a writing contest. And so from there, that's like the origins of me, like as far as getting into like really starting to write. In terms of like writing my first like script or whatever the case may be, I did that in 2015. And it's funny because it's a I wrote this short, and it was called, at the time it was called Corrective Action. That's what it was called at the time, or The Foundation. And then from
Uh-huh.
there we end up revamping it and everything, and that's actually the Pushover now that we actually made to a full feature.
Okay. So you said it was originally called The Correction?
Yeah, it was like Corrective Action, and then we
Corrective
would
Action.
toss around ideas, and then it was like The Foundation, and but we finally came up with like the Pushover. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So did the foundation or corrective action, whichever, did that um did it change the storyline or has it always been kind of the same storyline?
Same storyline. The I say the only difference was the differences were like just references for that time, that time in our history. Like
Obviously.
yeah,
Yeah.
you had to change up, you had to update some of the lingo, some of the slang, or whatever the case may be. And and then certain references like after like the reference, one of the references in the movie, we referenced the movie Takers, right? And Takers is, that was a long time ago, so we had to do something that was
Exactly.
more current, so we switched that to a different film that was more current.
Okay, okay. So this movie, the one that you're talking about, the pushover, this
Yes.
one is coming out soon. This one is about to drop soon.
Yes, April 12th.
Okay.
We're having a red carpet uh, movie premiere. It's going to be in Pasadena, California. It's going to be a great event, of course. We have, food and open bars included in the ticket purchase. So it's something that we're really excited about. Photographers, videographers, red carpet correspondents, all those things. We're having a raffle giveaway from our sponsors. We have Sunny and Demby, Ask for Tacos, and Peace Therapy by Jill and Nicole. Those are a few of our sponsors that are actually uh, raffling off items.
Okay. And what can we expect from the movie? I know we were gonna go one direction, and I told you we would go the direction that the flow of the conversation went. So
Yes.
I'll definitely ask more questions. But since we're on this topic of the movie itself, what can we expect from the pushover, and what do you think audience is gonna take from it?
Okay. Well, what you could expect is something that is like thought provoking, something that back in the day we would call it water cooler talk, but it's something that you can have like long conversations about. It's a dramedy slash documentary, and it touches on people that are in relationships that do not set boundaries in the very beginning. So it's about
Okay.
that. So it's about a guy named Mike who just got out of a rocky relationship, and his friends hold an intervention in hopes of preventing women from walking all over him. So it's about a guy that's just basically um, is what is he going to do? Is he going to, why didn't he set boundaries? Why does his friends think that he's being taken advantage of and things of that sort? And so yeah, that's what it's really about. And
Okay.
so yeah,
So
and I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, no. Well, it almost makes me think of I can't. It was a movie I had in mind. It doesn't really fall into 40-Year-Old Virgin or any of those kind of movies, but it gives me sort of that sort of when you say comedy,
Hmm.
the comedy behind it. The and I'm taking it. The comedy comes after he's gotten out of the rocky relationship,
Right.
or
So yeah, it's a dramedy.
okay,
So it's kind of drama and comedy is merged in
okay.
one. Right. Yes.
Now, does the movie start with him ending the relationship, or does it go into his relationship, or kind of like a, you know how like they have flashbacks in a movie?
Right. Right.
Does it kind of go like that?
Okay. So that's a great question. So it really starts off with the actual breakup. So
Okay.
so from there, it's just a situation where, you know, he calls one of his friends, and then they invite him over so they can have that intervention. And and in between, how I have it set up is I got the actual structure concept from Tim Alexander. He has this film that came out in 2008 called Diary of a Tired Black Man. Not to be
Hmm.
confused with
Okay.
Diary of a Mad Black Woman. It's a Diary of a Tired Black Man. And and it was, I believe, Jimmy Gene Lewis was in that film. He was the lead in there, and and that essentially was about a guy who's having problems with his wife, and then he eventually broke up with her because he just felt underappreciated. So my concept is totally different. It's not about that, but how he had it structured, and which is how we have our structured is that we have a narrative, and then we have the documentary portion, and they go back and forth until we get to the conclusion of the film.
I saw that, and I thought that was really interesting on the trailer. How you did how the trailer started, where they're in like a room and they're being asked, is Mike this, is Mike that, and I thought, what is going on here? And then all of a sudden, there's a group of people that's in now. That this group of people is this like the staff of the movie, or these are like the people in the movie?
Right. That's a great question. So actually, how we set everything up, and I'm going to answer that question. So how we set it up
Okay.
was we shot it in Maryland. We shot in Maryland, in Odenton, Maryland, and Laurel, Maryland,
Hmm.
and then from there we shot some of the documentary portions there. But we also shot portions out here in LA. So we shot in Long Beach, and also in a place called, I think it's called Valley, California, or something like that. And so that's where that panel was. So, and
Okay.
also in Orange County as well. So in Irvine. So that panel, it was like 16 people. The host at that particular sitting was Patricia, and Patricia, she hosted. It was like 15 people or so, and basically we had clips of the film and she just interviewed them on what they thought between each part, like wherever there was any kind of conflict in the film, she would go ahead and ask them questions about what they thought about it, how they would respond, and if they were in that situation, things of that sort. And so we did that. Then we also asked them questions about relationships. So we have different people, different opinions on like
Okay.
just relationships and just the film in general.
Okay. I think that was really awesome to do.
Thank you.
Yeah, it reminded me of another movie I saw where they kind of had that kind of thing where it was like an intervention, and I can't think of the movie,
Okay.
but I saw something recent that that had that sort of concept, but it was about like a happy marriage kind of concept, and I can't even think of the movie. I don't know. It just brought that to my uh the front of my mind when I saw that, and I was like, this is really interesting. I like the way that you put that together, where it was a group of people talking about this guy because the guy was never in the scene, or was he? Where the three guys, like in the trailer,
Yeah,
where
he
three
was at the
guys,
end.
he
Yeah, he
was
was at the very end.
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
he's the
because
guy
he
that
was
was
like,
like,
I don't think that was. Do
he's
you
like, I
think
did
that was
kind of,
bad or whatever?
yeah, he was like, yeah, I did kind of disrespect her though.
Yeah, yeah, and I was just like, okay, I get how this is gonna go.
Right.
So, what other movies have you done, or shorts, or anything like that that you've done that we could also look at some of your work?
Oh,
Because right now that's not out. So, what else could we look at?
okay. So currently, well, so I have two films that are out of the film festival circuit that won several
Okay,
awards. Films. One of the films called A Good Night's Rest, and it's about a couple that tosses and turns in bed due to a menacing disturbance that they try to control but can't. Right. So that's a drama. I'm not dramedy. That's a dark comedy. And the second short is called "It Could Be You," and it's about two brothers that encounter a homeless man, and the youngest of the two shows his disdain for the homeless until a story is shared that changes their lives forever. And that one, yeah, that one is I really is really powerful, I believe. And that won several awards like best director, lead actor, cinematographer, and supporting actor.
I did get a chance to also look at those two, and I thought they were very drastically different and very creative in how you told the story.
Thank you.
And yeah, and it was the one the It Could Be You was really one that had me like, oh, okay. It was a little emotional. I wasn't expecting that emotion to come out,
Oh,
and I
thank
was
you.
like, oh, this is crazy. This is good. This was really good.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. You're welcome. Very much a you- it was very worth it. And then looking at the darker comedy, I was just like, oh, yes, I've been there. And a lot of us, without giving it away, a lot of us have been there.
Right, right.
And it was interesting to see the dynamic of the husband or the boyfriend
Hmm.
trying to alleviate the, in his mind he did.
Right, in
But
his
then the
mind, he definitely did.
woman couldn't take it. And I was like, wow, that is a contrast of what men take versus what women take,
Right,
or what we allow. So I thought it had even more of a deeper meaning, even though it was a dramedy.
right,
Um, it kind of spoke to some of those things where it's like, well, guys deal with a lot of things that they don't really respond to versus a woman,
right,
and the things that we feel like should be perfect, or in this perfect world it's going to be this way. So I thought that was interesting that it showed one dynamic, which is the comedy of it all. Like once you realize what the whole thing is, then it's funny. But then
right,
it
right,
also makes
right.
you think. So it's thought provoking too. It's
Thank you.
not just, yeah, it wasn't just like on one level it was funny and that was it. It was like, no, but you think about it, like the guy didn't do what the woman wanted to do, so it was
Right,
just like
right.
one of those things where it was like, huh, I wonder if that was also intended to be conveyed. But even if it wasn't, it was conveyed. So I thought that was really interesting
Thank you.
um, to see that. So very well deserved on that too.
Thank you.
Um, you as a filmmaker, the question that I have is there are some filmmakers who just put out movie after movie after movie. What do you say to those who just put out movie after movie? Like, does that kind of come off like you're not really allowing the movie to sit with people and let people, you know, does it come off like you're doing too much, or does it come off like, well, you just have kind of like music? You have so much music to put out, right? That if you're a writer, you're gonna have records on top of records on top of records that you want to put out. But just even in the music business, you want to have a album or a single or something sit and let people get to know you through that music. Is that the same way you look at a movie?
Okay, that's a great question. So for me, I stand on the line of on the side of if you're creative and you're putting out work, and you whether you put it out quickly or you take time, my thing is I applaud you, because at the end of the day, there's so many people that are scared to share their work, and they're scared of what people are going to think or is going to say. So if you're creative and you can churn out product or films in a fast manner, then that's awesome. I mean that's a more power to you. And if you're a type person that takes more time to do certain to put out films, that's fine too, as long as you put out quality. As long as
That's
it's
what I was
quality.
gonna say.
Yeah,
Quality.
that's my thing. But even if it's not quality, I still applaud you, because at the end of the day, um, everybody that's pointing and saying this is bad or this is good or this is great or whatever the case may be, um, and they believe they could do a better job, but aren't showing that they could do a better job. It's really kind of like, I don't really care about what your opinion is, really, because they're actually out there doing it, and that goes a long way, because it takes a lot to galvanize a cast, a crew, uh,
It does.
casting, everything from logistics to like locations. It takes so much for a person to pull that off, or a team to pull that off. So whether the film is coming out fast, at a rapid pace, or it takes time, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because they put in the work and they finished it from nuts to bolts. They finished it. Yeah.
Okay. So you don't think it will impact the quality? Like somebody who's constantly putting out movies, it could have been that they didn't have the financial backing beforehand, or they didn't have the team and things like that. So there's a lot of things sort of in the holster, if you will, that they were wanting to put out but just didn't have the staff or the cast and things like that to put it out.
Right. I mean, again, my whole thing is, all right, I understand that there's films that are going to be good, and there's going to be films that are going to be bad. There's going to be films that are going to be okay, and there's going to be films that are going to be phenomenal, right? And it's really, my whole thing is that, I mean, of course, nobody wants to see a bad film, but my thing is, I just applaud anybody that's able to make a film and puts it out, and it's their art, and it's going to. I always feel like when you put out a film or you put out music or whatever that is, you're going to find people that are going to like your style,
Hmm.
or whatever the case may be. I mean, it might be, and if say it's not good, you at least gave it a shot. And so, like I said, I just applaud anybody that puts in the effort, because it's not easy. It really isn't.
I agree with that. It's definitely not easy. I've seen it firsthand, and it's not easy. So I can understand the and appreciate what goes into it. It's just one of those things that you kind of wonder, if somebody's putting out music on top of music on top of music, like when I look
Hmm.
at the music industry,
Right, right, right,
um, like I haven't even got a chance to like this album yet. Now you're putting out another album and
right,
you
right,
haven't had
right,
a chance to like really get to enjoy it. And that's
right.
one of the things I think about it and I'm like, but then on the other hand, if somebody is putting out constantly good quality movies,
Hmm.
or it's a progression. Because here's the other thing. Yes, it starts out garbage. Like in the beginning, it may not be the best work. I don't want to say garbage, but it's not your best work, the very first
Right,
one. So now you get better and you show your progression of getting better. That to me says that somebody who's learning from their mistakes. But if you're still putting out the same kind of quality
right,
every single time, then you gotta wonder, like maybe you know, to me, in my opinion, it's the same thing with music. Like if you're putting out the same thing, we talking about the same stuff, and we 20 years down the line, no, 10 years down the line, and you still talking about trying to make it and this and that, but you're a millionaire. And you got all these different things going on, all this money coming in. You shouldn't be talking about that same trying to make it, you know, ideology because you literally are not in that position anymore. So to
right,
bring that to the table constantly, it makes you wonder, okay, well, did your music grow or are you just putting out what you think people want to see
right,
versus showing your progression, showing the growth in your art form? Because it doesn't have to be music, but in movies, you're putting out your art form. So I would expect that this is your first movie, it's going to have some stuff wrong with it. Your second movie is going to be better. Regardless of what type of movie it is, you would see better production, better audio, better, visuals,
right.
better edits. It would just seem like to me, I'm thinking like, okay, if I were to get into the movie making industry, I wouldn't want to just shove out movies and then just to do it. Just to
Right,
say I've
right.
done 20 movies, but 20 movies where 10 of them are garbage. And then, the rest of them, you can't even really follow the storyline. So then the writing is bad. So then it just almost seems like you're just doing this just to say you have all these movies out.
Right.
And it's not the quality behind it. So that's kind of one of the questions that I had is you don't seem, at least now this is maybe your first feature film, yes,
Yes, this is the
right?
first.
But
Yeah,
do you
that.
feel like you will be putting out more movies like back to back to back, or do you feel like you're gonna give it space?
Well, for me, it's just about putting myself in a position where whatever I'm putting out is just quality. So if it takes me longer, then it takes me longer. If it's something that I have a certain budget for, and then we're able to do it at a fast pace, that's fine as well. I mean, me personally, it's just about is it quality? That's really what it boils down to, is the quality. So if I could put out 2 or 3 films in one year, I would put out 2, 3 films in one year if they're quality
Okay,
films. But I'm not going to put it out to meet a quota or anything. I'm not like, I don't have some like quota in my head where I have to make these many films in a year, and if I don't make this many films, then I don't feel like I accomplished anything. No, it's gotta be quality. So if that means it takes me a little bit longer, then that's what it will be.
okay. Now speaking on budget, let's talk about that being indie. Well, do
Mhm.
you consider yourself an indie filmmaker?
Absolutely.
Okay, so being an indie filmmaker, what are some type of budgets? Well, I don't want to say some type. What are budgets that you've seen worked with that have made like what's the word? I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to budgets that have been very low budget but have higher quality. And have you noticed that the budget of the movie determines the quality of it? Does that run hand in hand or do they have nothing to do with each other, in your opinion?
Okay. Well, I've seen I've, I've been on set for like other films that the budget is like 250,000, and that's considered like a micro budget. So that's considered not even a lot of money. I mean, none of my films are even that
It's
much.
considered
That-
it's
it-
considered not a lot of money?
no, it's not. Like when we're
Wow.
speaking of in terms of industry, you know. So
Okay.
like I've seen a film. I've been on set. It's filmed by uh, a really great guy. His name is Steve Wallet. He it's a film called Jack Be Nimble. I was a
Okay.
camera op on that particular uh, film. 11-day shoot, and it was like over 250,000. You know, and it had people like notable people on in the film like Vernon Wells, who was in Mad Max 2. Um,
Okay.
and there was another lady. It's escaping me right now. It's escaping me. But the lady, she was in like a movie with Richard Gere, and also she was in Crank 2 with Jason Statham. Bai Ling, that's her name, Bai Ling. So
Okay.
it had some notable people in there, and they were in, and and the film turned out like as far as quality and everything, it turned out well. And yeah, but then I've also seen people that might, spend maybe, 10,000 and come up with something that's, comparable. It's just really about how many hats you can wear when you're putting a production together, when you have a smaller budget. So like for instance, my partner in Maryland, Darren C. Murray, he's
Mhm.
he and we both edit. He DPs on the projects or co-directs on the projects that every project that I put out, and so we're saving money there. I have a red, I have lighting, he has lighting. So there's things that we save money on because we wear multiple hats. Same thing with
Okay.
producing, we put the money together, and well, really, I'm funding him, primarily funding it. He helps when he can, but as far as like feeding the cast and the crew and paying actors and things of that sort, like those are the things that you do to save money. Also, even it would take a step further. Um, like I will volunteer my time to help other independent filmmakers work on their films. So if they need me to help them with sound or be a camera op or script supervisor, I'm there for them. And then when I'm there, when it's the time and I call in that favor, they don't charge me. You know what I'm saying? To make sure that they're well
Mm.
fed. And that's how you cut
Okay.
down the budget. So that's how you can get something that's comparable to something that has a $250,000 budget. Um, but but again, you have to make sure that the people that are helping you are actually like specialists in these positions, like
Exactly.
specialists like gaffing, specialists in grip, specialists like a DP and sound, that you need that as well. So yeah.
Okay. So when it comes to the budget, it's all in who you know. A lot of times when it comes to the indie film sector and getting the quality for the pay, because you have a different kind of budget, so the volunteering your time and all that plays its part with you being able to get that quality for either no pay or lower pay than you would normally pay and things like that. So somebody coming into starting a production company, what would you give advice wise someone trying to start their own production company? Like what does it take to start it?
Well, really, you can start a production company without any equipment. To be honest, it's just about if you have to take on the role of a line producer and being able to find out who is like you have to find freelancers and find out who's good at what, right? So you have to find a good a sound a sound engineer or sound mixer rather. You got to find a good
Mhm.
sound mixer, find a good gaffer, a good mixer, maybe a good director, good producer. You have to find these different parts, and then you can reach out to have this list, compile a list, and say and then also you have to be able to make sure that you're able to market to whatever whatever company that, whether it's a small business, big business. That's I'm just talking on the commercial side. Now if we're talking
Mhm.
about filmmaking, that's something different. They're going to want you the studios already have the people that they need in order to shoot, to hold a production. They already have the people on their call sheet and stuff like that. But in terms of like, if you're doing commercial work, like long form or short form, all you need to do is have a list of people that can execute whatever that client wants or needs. So really, you don't really even need equipment to have a production company.
Okay, so a production company, the way that I think I was looking at it was people that do their films in-house. But the way it
Mhm.
sounds is also that you're talking about kind of like a production company being like the middleman between the investors and then the people. Well, how would a production company? Let me ask that. In
Mhm.
in, um in the I don't want to say anatomy of film. I don't know what way to say it, but in the hierarchy, for
Mhm.
instance, where does a production company come in to play when you're talking about like investors like Maverick or Homestead or any of those? These are some funding sources that I've learned about
Okay.
through my understanding of film so far. And then there's a production company. That production company can have their own staff, their own in-house people,
Right.
but they themselves don't necessarily aren't necessarily the writers of the film. So they may have someone else come in to do the writing, but then they produce or they have all the people to produce the movie. But you're saying that a production company can be a standalone without all those people, and they get those people from some other film production company or
Oh, yeah. So when I was speaking in terms of if you're doing like commercial work or whatever the case may be, you wouldn't necessarily need equipment. Now, a production company they're responsible for the actual production of the film. So they're going to have all the pieces that you need, to execute the vision of the studio. So when you're dealing with a production company, it's just about if you have if you're able to have the pieces, whether, like I said, it's a DP, camera ops, sound mixers, gaffers, grips, things of that sort, and then you can execute the studio's vision. So that's really what it boils down to with a production company, if you can do that. And so what I was saying was, if you on a commercial side, you could still have a production company in name without having equipment, because all you would really need to do is have people that were specialists, and then you would just rent equipment to carry out that task.
okay. So when you okay, I guess then I need to get an understanding of what commercial is. You're saying commercial versus indie?
No, no. When I'm referring commercial, I'm talking about like shooting like a commercial, like on television.
Oh, an actual commercial. Okay.
Advertisements,
Okay.
advertisements. Yeah, that's what I was referring to when I was referring to commercial. I like long form or short form, something like an ad for YouTube, or you ad for Instagram or Facebook, and uh, or putting something on somebody's website. Doing a commercial for Toyota, Coca-Cola. That's what I was
Okay.
referring
Okay.
to.
So a film production company, what does it take to make a film production company? And is it just the way that you were saying the DP, the producers, the or the sort of like the behind the scenes people, like not the ones that make the film come to life, the videographer, cinematographer, the lighting, the gaffer, the sound person, all of these people, the production company has that already, and they're kind of like their own sort of package to someone who's wanting to have a movie made, for instance.
Yeah, there are production companies that have all those things in within their ecosystem. So there's that, and then the studios, they'll outsource a production company, and they're like, okay, I want this production company to shoot this film, you know. And
Okay.
then also studios have the in-house production. They have their own in-house production companies where they utilize to execute their vision. So it's both,
Okay, so
right?
production company can have a variety of different types of people, kind of like how in the music world, how some people have their own publisher or their own not publisher, their own beat maker, their own executive producer, their own person that creates the sound, their writers and da da da, and they can have their whole sort of in-house establishment. That's their record label. Their record label has all this. Same thing with a production company. You can come with all that, or you can be your own record label, and you can only have maybe a few artists, but you don't have the sound engineer and all these other different people. So you have to then outsource those components. The same way
Right,
with production company.
right.
Okay. So what does is it Salone Productions? Is that
Oh,
how you pronounce
Siloam, Siloam.
Salone?
Right.
Salone.
Yeah, and so just a quick interjection. So Salone is my family's from Sierra Leone, which is West Africa, right? So
Okay.
Salone is an acronym for Sierra Leone, but how
Okay.
it's
Okay.
really spelled is spelled Salone. But I figured that somebody probably would already have that name for some other kind of business, so I just did a play on the word, and it's spelled Sa-Loan. But yeah,
Okay. So Salone, am I saying it?
Salone, Salone.
Salone.
Yeah, no
Sa.
problem, no
Okay.
problem.
Salone. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no
Salone
problem, no problem.
Productions. What do you all come with in terms of a production company?
Okay, so we're a video marketing company as well as a film production company. So we do things both on both sides, commercially, and
Okay.
also we do things that in terms of like my films that have been going through Silent Production. So we haven't we haven't been in production with any other films outside of mine, but we're looking to branch and help other people execute their visions.
Okay. So on the commercial side, you do commercials, videographer and things like that for other companies, whether it's, I don't want to say Toyota, whatever the name drop, but manufacturers or just different companies, bigger companies and things like that.
Yeah.
You do things along with the filmmaking side of it.
Well, that's the video marketing side. So yeah, we do that, and for our services, you can go to Salon Pro, which is spelled Saloan pro.com, and it pretty much breaks down our services and how we can help others.
Okay. And it's, let me get that, Salon pro.com.
Yes.com.
Okay. Okay. So let's go back a little bit. I know we went all over the place with the questions, especially
No
since what I
worries.
told you. Let's see. So when you created Salon,
Sa,
Salon,
just remember
Sa, I
sa,
give up
sa,
Sa.
sa,
Okay.
Salon. Yes,
I gotta do the SAH for me to
sa. Yeah,
remember that. So
yes.
Salon with Salon Productions,
Hmm.
what um did you feel like there was a void in the filmmaking industry, either on the DC side, the Maryland side, or the LA side? Do you feel like there was a void that this production company could fill?
I mean, I wouldn't say there's a void. I think okay, there's a void in terms of me being a unique person in terms of my ideas and stuff. So it'll be a void in the sense of there's not my work out there. But I don't think it's
Hmm.
a void in the sense of there's a lack of, you know, good films or good material out there, good content out there. It's just a void in the sense of, oh yeah, I need to add on to that too. I need to add on to that.
Yeah, quite simply, the game is missing you. It's kind of one
Right.
of the things that is it's a reminder that you still have a voice, you still have a unique story to put out, or stories to put out.
Exactly.
So the game is missing you in
Right.
terms of what you bring to the table and things like that. So I think that's a great way to look at it, instead of saying that, oh, there's not quality and things like that. Because I've seen a lot of people say so many different things with Tubi, and I want to get your opinion on Tubi versus
Hmm.
Peacock and different things like that
Hmm.
in terms of your distribution. Um, when you distribute this movie to the different platforms, are you looking for it to go to a certain platform? And then what is your opinion of these different platforms if you want to give it? Don't cancel yourself out on nothing here.
Hmm.
But do you feel like there's a certain caliber of movies that go in certain platforms, and then what way would you position your film?
Okay. So, well, in terms of the type of film platforms, streaming platforms, I think they're all good. They all serve a purpose, and that's to allow creators or creatives share their work with the masses. And now, whoever the audience is, they're going to gravitate towards whatever streaming platform of their choosing. Some people only like one particular one over the other, and some like them all. And so for me, I'm the same way. I am a person that's like, okay, there any I like every streaming platform there is for the most part, and I'll be honored to be on any of them. So that's how I take it. Because my thing is, I want when I create something, I want as many eyes on my work as possible. So if that means that a certain audience is on this streaming platform, and then there's another, sector that's in this on this platform, then I want my film on all these platforms, so all as many eyes can get on it. So that's how I look at things.
I think that's a great way to look at it in terms of what I've heard as a consumer of movies now. There's so much negative publicity with Tubi and versus Peacock and versus all these different paid services and things like that, that even Tubi's changing up the way that they do things. Maybe they're starting to see, hey, we need to be a little bit more selective with the quality of movies and things like that. But I think that there's still a lot of, like you say, there's a lot of eyes that can be on it. So why not put it in multiple places instead of trying to be exclusive to one of the paid platforms, because it's going to give you more payout, or you're going to have that population of people, just like you said, that gravitate towards certain platforms for whatever reason. Maybe they think the quality of movie is better, or they feel like because they're paying for it, it's going to be a better quality versus free, versus this platform or that platform, or if it's HBO versus Showtime or whatever. People think what they want to think, and they'll go to whatever they gravitate towards. But I think it's a great idea as a filmmaker to have it where you want to get as many eyes on it. Maybe later on down the road you get a little more, exclusive. But it's like at the moment of being an indie filmmaker, it seems like you want to get your movie out wherever you can get it seen. That's the
Absolutely.
goal of it.
Facts.
And people who decide that they want to invest in your movie, they might be on some of those platforms looking at, oh, the quality of work or how much they put into this. Because is it your opinion that you yourself can fund the movie, but would you also get funding from somewhere else where you get investors to invest in the movie and things like that? So is that the goal, or you just to do it in house only?
Oh, well, no, I definitely welcome investors, but also when you have investors, there's also, depending on who that investor
Hmm.
is, there's a price to pay. You're going to have to compromise. So it just
Yep.
depends on who, quote unquote, you get in bed with, and if that's the right partner for you when you're working on your project. I think the visions have to be aligned rather, and if they are aligned, then you can really do a lot of things because extra money it definitely helps if you know who your demographic is, your target audience is, and then what your what you want to convey. So if you have all those things in order, and you have with the right cast and crew, you can really do some, and of course great marketing. You can do some extraordinary things. So I am not closed off to investors, at all.
Okay, but one thing you did say that I do want to touch on a little bit more, and that is understanding that there is a price to pay. You've got somebody who wants to invest in your movie, and the production of it, but what do they want in return? So a lot of times we look at the fact that somebody's going to give us this large amount of money or larger than what we've expected to, get.
Mhm.
But then you don't look at what is their return on investment? What is their return on investment supposed to be? And are you going to be able to deliver that?
Right,
Because
absolutely.
then there's I think the other side of it is somebody gives you this money, do they just want to see your movie do numbers, or do they want money back off of it on the back end? You know, it's understanding the business behind it. So what do you say to
Absolutely.
someone trying to get into a production, or have a production company, or even go with a movie production company that's funding their movie? How important is it to understand the business behind it?
I mean, it's very important. I mean, at the end of the day, it's show business, right? Show business, and you can have the greatest idea in the world, the greatest concept in the world, but if you don't have a plan on how you can get the investors' money back and some, then if you're not thinking like that, then you should just stick to just doing it yourself and scrape up whatever you have and then put out what you want to put out, and without having to compromise anything. But if you want to make some money while displaying your art, you have to have a plan on how you're going to make money off of your work, and that's a tricky thing. It's not something that me personally I could say this is the magic bullet to how you make money, because people lose money off films all the time. Case in point, we had a film years ago called Waterworld, which was put out um, yeah, years ago, and it had Kevin Costner. Now, Kevin Costner, I mean, he's still huge. He's still A-lister. He
Hmm.
got Yellowstone and all these other shows, and but back in that day, those days, he had just come off of The Bodyguard with Whitney Houston, and
Hmm.
this was such a huge film. It was a film where they shot it on water, where you could not see any land in sight. So people had like the characters had like these moving like kind of like islands, but they weren't really islands. They were like ships and stuff like that.
Hmm.
This was like one of the biggest budgeted films at the time, with an A-list star that's coming off of Bodyguard, which is a huge hit,
Hmm.
and it flopped, and it flopped. You got to think. You have Kevin Costner. You have all these. You have this major studio behind it, backing it. You know, I think I don't know if Anthony Hopkins was in that. No, I mean Dustin Hop. No, I'm trying to remember this guy's name. I think it's Anthony Hop, the guy that was in Speed. But anyway, long story short, it flopped, and and to me it was an okay movie. It wasn't bad to me, but it flopped because it didn't do well in the theater, right? And that's what I'm saying. There's no magic bullet. There's You would think that you had all the ingredients, the key ingredients to
Mm-hmm.
make this film, a huge success, and it just didn't turn out that way. So there's no magic bullet, for an ROI. It's just the investors got to have faith in you. You have to have a plan, and then you just got to hope that you win. It's like a football team. Like all right, you're reviewing all this tape, and you're like, all right, this is what we could do if they do this, and this is what we do when they do that, and we do this. This is gonna throw them off guard, but you still have to play the game, and and,
Mm-hmm.
and when you play the game, and they outplan or they out execute you, you lose the game. And so and then of course, the GM, the general manager, he's and the owner, they're investing all this money in these players, and they're drafting these players, and they're picking up all these free agents, but that still doesn't mean that this team is going to be good. They're just hoping. You don't you All you can do is prepare and plan to do well, to succeed, but you really ultimately you don't know if you're going to play well, or the film's going to do well, so to speak.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think a lot of times when it comes to making movies, people kind of get caught up in what they want. Of course, you want to tell a story. You
Absolutely.
want to make it make sense. Well, sometimes it doesn't make sense, and I guess that's the question. Is like when you're writing a movie or as a screenwriter, because you come from a screenwriting world too, where you got into filmmaking. So the movie still has to make sense. It still has to have a flow to it. And
Right.
sometimes when we watch a movie and it doesn't make sense, that's where people get lost. That where it's like it didn't make sense. This How does this happen and da da da. So the reality of a movie still has to make the movie itself has to make sense, like in real life, unless we're talking about some fantasy world. Then the concept of the movie that you're telling the story, that movie is telling the story of, has to make sense. So do you think that plays a part into why a movie would flop or not? Or is it just like that? I know there's no magic bullet for it to win, but can we say there's a magic bullet or explosion for it to not win?
I mean, what all I would say is that anybody that puts out a film, I mean, of course, I mean, it has to make sense, but it's so many different factors. It's like, okay, all right, who's in that film? How is this film being marketed? How's the story? When is it? What time of the year is coming out? It's it's so many different factors that make a film successful, and it's like you got to hit on all these different points. Like look at like American Fiction, like that's a brilliant film, but is it going to outsell like a Fast and the Furious? I mean, no, but they
Right,
have their demographic. You know what I'm saying?
right.
So it's just kind of like you just get in where you fit in.
Okay. I mean that's a great way to look at it, I think too. Because sometimes we're kind of told, well, you have this actor, you get this producer, you get this movie house, you get this budget, everything's gonna be all good. That's the perfect, formula. And then you look and you see movies like you said, water something. I've never even heard of
Waterworld, yeah, check it
Water
out.
World.
It came out probably, I think either like I think it came out in the '90s. It's called Waterworld. Yeah,
Okay.
it was like, I mean, they spent, I think it was like one of those first, not the one of the first, but like one of those movies where they're like they dropped like 100 and something million or something on it, and it was huge
Oh
for that
wow.
time. Yeah,
Yeah, that still sounds huge now,
it's
but
huge now. So imagine back then in the '90s, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
What in the world? And it flopped. So does that also mean the actors didn't get paid what they were getting paid, or are they treated like subcontractors when it comes to
No, the
movie
actors get
making?
paid. No, the actors get paid. The actors are, they get paid. It's just that the studio loses money on it, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, we want to go ahead and try to wrap this up. So I do want to give you time to put your social media out there, websites and things like that that you want us to know about and us to follow you on.
All right.
So how can they follow you?
Okay. So on Instagram, you can follow me at SA underscore LOAN pro. Also, you can follow us on the Pushover. It's at the Pushover on Instagram. On Facebook, you can follow me. It's T John, which is spelled TEJAN dot 31 dot. That's it. Yeah, I'm tripping, right? I'm tripping. So it's I'm
Yeah, I
tripping.
was looking at the notes like,
No, no, no.
what?
It's Facebook. It's facebook.com / yeah, T John. Yeah, T John, TEJAN dot 31. Yeah, it's crazy.
And
Yeah.
then the and then the website say
Oh yeah, yeah. The website. Yeah, I'm
Salon
tripping. I'm
Films.
tripping, y'all. All right, and the website also. Yeah, for video marketing, you can reach me at salonpro.com. So that's SALOAN pro.com. And then also, if you want to know about the film, the Pushover, it's at Salon Films, SALOAN films.com, and that's where you'll see like where you can get tickets, where's the location. It'll actually break down the cast and the crew. You'll see their bios. You also can catch the trailer there as well. So yeah, Salon Films, SALOAN films.com.
And that red carpet is
It's,
April
yeah, April 12th and
12th.
Friday, April 12th at 7 o'clock. From 7 o'clock, from 7 to 11, we're gonna have a great time. It's gonna be, like I said, food, open bar. It's all included into the ticket purchase, as well as we're gonna have red carpeted correspondence, photographer, raffle giveaway, a Q&A session. It's gonna be a great time.
Okay. And thank you for let me get into the thing, right? Thank you
Right.
for coming on the show, That Part Podcast. You can follow us at that part underscore pod on YouTube and that part underscore pod on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all those good things.
Yeah.
So you find us there. Thank you all for tuning in. You all have a great